This meeting is being recorded.
Well, I just want to say hello there and welcome everyone to Poetry at 3. I am Sharon Burton. I am your hostess with the mostest that's going to be facilitating this virtual salon today. I was sharing with everyone that I have been doing some form of a poetry salon for 20 some odd years, I guess close to 30 years. I was really surprised when I was thinking about this the other day, and I was like, wow, I think I've been doing this for a while. Before I moved to where I am now, I'm in the DMV area. I was in Atlanta, and I think I might have started it before then. I don't know. Sherry might remember. I don't know if we did something like that back in Richmond, Virginia. But when I lived in the Atlanta, Georgia area, I used to host them in my apartment and other people's places and other people's houses. And we used to have a lot of fun. There used to be a few of us that would get together, and we would actually bring just want to mute some folks. I would bring people together, and we would bring our favorite poets and talk about the poets and share. I've always been a poetry lover since I was a preteen, and didn't start writing poetry until much later, but I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. But I have some wonderful people that are going to be sharing today. We have 8 poets, including myself. And they are going to be sharing either their original work, or they will be sharing works from people that they admire, or a little bit of both. And so I hope that you enjoy the words that will be shared today. I encourage people to show love by just typing something in the chat box about maybe even just a phrase, a word, or if you just was feeling that poem, please do that. If you're familiar with using the emojis, give a thumbs up, give a heart, whatever. We as poets and as artists, we love to hear that feedback. Some of these folks are the first time they're doing this in front of people. Other people have been doing it a long time, have been published and all that kind of stuff. And then we have people in between. I'm an in-betweener. So, I am a big fan of encouraging creativity in all its forms. And so all of these folks I've known, except for maybe one person, but because she knows my cousin, I know her too. These are some really great people that I love and adore and have become a fan with. Some I've known longer than others, but they are part of my circle now, and they can't get rid of me. Even if they want to try to get rid of me, can't get rid of me. So again, just welcome. And again, please show some love for the poets as they share their work today. We're going to start with one of my fellow poets in a group called the Kaleidoscope Women. It's a group of us that write poetry. We just released a book latter part of last year. Jonetta Rose is our convener, and you'll hear from her later today. But I love Kami because Kami agreed to do this with me last year, and we didn't know each other very well. And she did a in-person one with the Women's Caucus of Art. So I just love her interest in sharing her work. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. Kami is a poet and writer. She writes mostly in her native language. She's from Tamil Nadu. I hope I'm saying that right. Okay. All right. South India. And she's currently residing in Virginia. She was a practicing attorney back home. So you can't say attorneys cannot be creative and artists. She's a full-time writer at this time. She's released 3 poetry books, 2 on Amazon Kindle and 1 in print. in her native language. And she's published 5 English poems in the Kaleidoscope collection of poems, which I mentioned earlier, written by women of color. So Kami, you're at first on the mic. Let's give her our little clap and some love as she comes to the mic.
Yeah, thank you, Sharon. Good evening to everyone present here. Thanks, Sharon, again for this wonderful opportunity to share some of my poems. The first poem I thought I would share about Caged Bird, written by Maya Angelou. She's one of my favorite poet. It's a beautiful poem. You must have read already, but I thought I would share it again with you all. Your free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends, and dips his wing in the orange sun rays and dares to climb the sky. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade winds soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. But a caged bird stands on the grave of dreams, his shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown, but long for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. So I thought I would share this poem with you all. And another poem written by me, I Sparkle and Dance. This was written a few weeks back in our, we meet, as Sharon told, Jonetta organizes that meeting. In that, I wrote this poem. I sparkle and dance when it rains, and then rise above the clouds. I shout to all my haters that I'm invincible. I shout to them that you may rip my bones apart, tear my skin, crush me to ground, stamp me to dust. Still, I rise above the clouds, sparkle and dance when it rains. As spring brings and blooms, my heart will bounce back from hate and conspiracy to glow and bloom with perseverance. As a sparrow that sings carefree, my melody of life will fill the air of hatred with an enduring music. To your surprise, I will still rise above clouds, sparkle and dance when it rains. So the third poem, this is from the book Kaleidoscope, which was Sharon was saying. It's Was or Not Heroic. Cries and pains heard across the planet, missing loved ones, they tremble in the street. Sounds of bombs, fog of smoke, cover houses, dawn is dark. We keep signing treaties, we keep raising slogans, we keep singing hymns. Change never happens, was or not heroic. Eternal, it continues in every decade, bloodshed and agony, cripple and dead spread. Centuries we fight for land, for sea, for materials, we still fight for imaginary borders, was or not heroic. Nature bleeds, goals and reasons bring not joy, but kills innocence. Wars bring decay, wars bring hate, wars shatter hope, wars shatter smiles, was or not heroic. Thank you all for this opportunity. I'm so happy that I was able to share 2 of my poems and 1 poem by Maya Angelou. Thank you.
I really enjoyed your presentation, and you know, it's been a long time since I've heard that poem by Maya Angelou, and it's one of my favorites. So thank you for sharing that, and I hope that people enjoyed that. And the poem that you read from the book was, I wasn't as familiar with that one, but I'm glad to hear it again. That it's in the book. So thank you for participating. And everyone, the folks that just joined us, we are just getting started with Poetry at 3. And I am so glad that you were able to make it. We are just encouraging you. We have 8 poets, and so we have 1 down, 7 to go. We encourage you to use the reaction. If you like what you hear, just put something in the chat or just use the emojis and just send the poet some love today. Because we all need love, right? We all need love, and including yours truly needs a lot of love. Okay, we have next is my good friend, Jonetta Rose Barras. She is a best-selling author and award-winning journalist. She is a Washington, D.C. institution. She has written investigative reports, breaking news stories, and opinion editorials for many of the media organizations in the nation's capital: the Washington Post, the Washington Examiner, the Washington City Paper, and the Washington Times. She currently writes a weekly column for the online news site, thedcline.org. She is the author and editor of several books, including Discovering Me Without You, Teen Girls Speak About Father Absence, which is through Esther Productions, which she owns, in 2020, Bridges, Reuniting Daughters and Daddies, Bancroft Press, and Blackboard bestseller, Whatever Happened to Daddy's Little Girl, The Impact of Fatherlessness on Black Women, Ballantine hardcover, and The Last of the Black Emperors, The Hollow Comeback of Marion Barry in the New Age of Black Leaders, which was also with Bancroft Press. And she has published 2 collections of poetry, including the critically acclaimed The Corner is No Place for Hiding. Her poems and fiction has also appeared in numerous anthologies, including Amazing Graces and It's All Love, Black Writers on Soulmates, Family, and Friends. I present to you, Miss Jonetta Rose Barras.
Wow, thank you so much, Sharon. And thank you very much for allowing me to read with this great group of women poets and to share, because despite the introduction, I haven't been writing poetry for a few years. And so in the last couple of years, thanks to the Kaleidoscope Women Collective, I've been able to come back to it. And Connie, as you mentioned, is a member of it. You are a member, and it inspires me to be around other poets. So thank you all for allowing me to join you today on this last day of the National Poetry Month. I thought I might read as one of my favorite poets, Paul Laurence Dunbar, We Wear the Mask. We wear the mask that grins and lies. It hides our cheeks and shades our eyes. This debt we pay to human guile. With torn and bleeding hearts we smile, and mouth with myriad subtleties. Why should the world be otherwise in counting all our tears and sighs? Nay, let them only see us while we wear the mask. We smile, but oh, great Jesus, our cries to thee from tortured souls arise. We sing, but oh, the clay is vile beneath our feet and long the mile. But let the world dream otherwise. We wear the mask. I think that's like the ode of Black people, isn't it? In terms of what we taught ourselves to do as we make our journey through America. Duplication is from my collection, The Corner is No Place for Hiding. Let 10,000 men be like you, muted saxophone voice, onyx eyes set inside a face etched from ageless mahogany, hands that cup terracotta dreams for thirsty women with rose petal faces, with moon song voices, with Caribbean sunshine eyes, with palm swaying hips, without men like you to love in midday heat after lunch, doing siesta stillness before cool cricket-filled evenings, or to remind them of another time, another land, not Arctic cold, without men like you on lonely Sunday mornings, genuflecting at bedsides, singing wordless praises. In the new day, let 10,000 men be like you, with stories hidden in the unending lines of their faces, of their veined hands, of their angular bodies, of their muted hearts. Let them cradle babies and guide old cane-holding men across streets that lay without movement or rhythm or ritual. Let them know your name and call it their own as they rise quietly facing the east. And the last one, thank you. And the last one, I was saying, getting back to poetry. So I went to this retreat, the Cafe Diaspora retreat a week or so ago. And there was a really interesting exercise that was given to us. And so this poem comes from that exercise. It's called A Diaspora Moment. The candles are always there, everywhere. I smell them. Even when there is no light at their tips, I smell them on me, guiding me to a place where I belong, on the altars of my great-grandmother, of my grandmother, Rose, whose name I wear, alongside Jonetta, a hint of the man whose name I wear without the H. Maybe it is an absence my mother intended. Don't get too close. Remember, you do not belong there, but where? Where with Lavetta, with Loeska, with Lavo, with the music dancing, with the light strong inside, where 5 generations of us sing hymns. Without opening our mouths, we speak the Latin we understand on Sundays at St. Paul Church, where saints sit on altars. Everywhere there is a blessing, a sprinkling of water from the women who tell me their stories and prayers through the candles they light. Help me find my way. Thank you.
Wow. All right. I'm really feeling all of that work, and it looks like the audience is feeling it too. All these hands and hearts and all kinds of stuff happening, clapping and everything. So looking forward to hearing more next weekend. All right, we'll just move along. I have Adrienne Charleston next at the mic. Adrienne. I met Adrienne and Nakita on my first international trip out of the country. All right, almost 55. I ain't never been out of the country. And I decided I was going to go. And I met these 2 ladies, and I was like, whoa, they were like kindred spirits. We kind of connected right away. When they told me they were poets, I was like, what? And so they, I've just been vibing off of both of them. And Adrienne also is appearing on a podcast I'm doing for my creativity coaching practice, which is Spark Your Creative Coaching. And Nakita is going to be one of my next guests as well. I'm doing a series on creativity over 40. And, because I think that is part of really, living. Healthy living is to keep your creativity alive. And so they're going to be guests on that. But Adrienne, I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. She has been licensed as a psychologist for over 10 years, but has worked in the mental health field for over 20 years. Becoming a psychologist was a life goal she had attained, and she continues to do all she can to help others reach their goals as well. She's a retired Army veteran. I think retired military women are so cool. They just have this whole different thing going on. Motivational speaker, workshop facilitator, and panel moderator with 3 books. I'm struggling with 1. She's got 3 books published. Her first book, Butterfly Flow, a book of poetry, was titled after a poem in the book. That was the other thing that attracted me to her, because we're both butterfly people. And she chose this as the title because she felt the poem embodied her and her journey. Butterfly Flow has become a way of life and her brand. This is because of what it means and how Adrienne believes that it relates to people. Butterfly Flow is the transformation of love, life, and learning. In the first stage, caterpillar, we are learning about life through the loves that we have encountered. In the second stage, chrysalis, we are taking what we have learned about love and trying to figure it out how to apply it to our life. And in the third and final stage, butterfly, we've lived life and learned that the biggest love of all is the love of yourself. So without further ado, I present to you Adrienne Charleston.
Hey, everybody. How are you? Good. Look, I'm making sure I unmuted myself. I wasn't sure. Okay. As she said, I'm Adrienne Charleston, and I am reading from my book, Butterfly Flow. And I'm trying to make myself big on my screen. For some reason, I'm not seeing myself. That's okay. I'll just I'll go from here. So yeah, so the first poem I'm going to do is the poem is called The Helper, and it's from my book Butterfly Flow. Look at me. Oh, you think you don't know who I am, but you do. You see, I am a woman that you would call a helper. I help men through hard times, divorce, lost job, money problems, housing issues, child support, or even child custody. Come see me. I am the strong woman who draws weak men or just men with issues. They want me. They need me. They make me feel loved, wanted, needed. That's everything I could ask for, at least until he is divorced, has a job, has money, a place to stay, or able to see his children. Then I, the helper, am out of the picture. If you didn't hear the first time, the helper is a strong woman. So the helper is good enough to support a man mentally and physically, but too strong to be with him when he can stand on his own 2 feet. I am too much for a regular man who only thinks he is strong, and too much for a strong man because I am still stronger than he. So for those of you who need me and want me, I am right here. Did you expect anything less? I am the helper, but you can reach me at 1-800-HELP-HIM. Yes, thank you. And my next poem is from Iyanla Vanzant. She's one of the people I not that I mold everything I do around her, but I aspire to be to that level of helping people. And so she writes many things. So this one is called Faith and Experience. You must have faith and experience in order to live life fully. You must have faith that all the things you expect from life are possible for you. You must have faith that no matter what life brings, you will be able to handle it. You must have faith that your faith will eventually lead to good experiences. Experience teaches you that your faith is paying off. Once you have had an experience, you know that you know. When you know, you become more faithful. Once you have an experience, it makes you want better or different experiences. The difference between faith and experience is this: one you must work on, the other one works on you. Still, you must move forward faithfully until you have the experience that will lead you to knowing. An experience leaves a mark on your consciousness. An experience will guide your thoughts and your actions. An experience can open your heart to new horizons or close your heart to fear. In the midst of an experience, you must have faith that you will ultimately reap some benefit from what you now know to be true. It is important to know what experiences to put your faith in. If you have an unpleasant experience, have faith that you will learn something new, useful, or productive. When you have a pleasant or productive experience, have faith that you can duplicate this experience and make it better. Have faith that your mind and heart will always be open to bigger, better experiences than those you've already had. Until today, you may not have realized that your faith and your experiences work hand in hand. Just for today, Use your faith to create better experiences. Use your experiences to activate a deeper sense of faith. So thank you. I love Ayanla. So yes, just for today. And so the last one I'm going to read is also from my book, Butterfly Flow. And it's Butterfly Flow. So you can't tame a butterfly. You have to let her be. For she has crawled around for way too long in the world she must see. There was a period of time she was locked away in a shell all her own. Now she is able to fly in the world she must roam. For as you know, her time here will not last forever. So cherish the times you have and the times you are together. You see, the wind dictates her direction and where she will go. If you are to travel with the butterfly, then just follow her flow. Thank you.
Oh man, already? Oh goodness, we're moving through this. All right. Well, thank you, Adrienne, all the way from North Carolina. We have kind of an East Coast thing going on today, thank goodness, right? Yes, it's always good when you have friends from all over. You know, I've been blessed to be able to have people from all over the place. All right, next up, we have Doris Durrett. And I'll tell you a little bit about her. Several years ago, after retirement, she began her creative writing adventure with members of a senior citizen writing class. Her teacher, a published author and adjunct college professor, along with her classmates who were a mixture of authors and excellent writers, inspired her to begin her writing journey. Although she was a language arts teacher for 41 years, she never took the time or had the desire to share her story through creative writing. So she began writing stories about her childhood adventures and the people who played a role in her life journey. A lot of her writings also reflect the past and present social and political climates of our country. The original poems that she's sharing for this event are intended to make the listener reflect on his or her role on this present world stage and what will be each person's response moving forward. I present to you Miss Doris Durrett.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you all, okay? And thanks, Sandy, for actually inviting me and having you invite me, okay? I'm not a poet. Like I said, like Sharon was telling you, I've written a lot of short stories, none published, but anyway, I'm gonna do my best here to engage you. Now, the first poem I'm going to read is not my poem. It's a poem that was written by my cousin who has passed, and she liked to write poetry. And instead of choosing, I had several other poems I would have chosen that I really liked, but I decided her. She passed about 7 years ago. The poem that I'm reading of hers was written in 1975, and just one of the poems that she left with me. So it's called I Live for Love. I have but one life to live. Let me live it for love. Let me go on loving forever and give hate never. In face of pain and sorrow, let me love for a better tomorrow. Who am I if I fail my child who is innocent for only a little while? Yes, I am my brother's keeper, and if he weeps, then I am a weeper. If he wanders foolishly in the night, then I too must suffer this plight. For if my father goes astray, then I must help him find his way. No, I will not turn and walk away, for if my mother does not eat, then I do not eat today. And when my family is happy and full of love, then I too am happy and thank the Lord above. There is but one route to eternal life, and that route is through love. For I have but one life to live, and I will live it for love. And her name was Revonda Long. Okay. The first poem that I am going to read that I wrote myself was a couple of years ago, and I have changed it, edited it several different times, okay? It's called thread carefully. The master weaver hovers over his loom, designs a web of interlocking destinies. Jagged edges, though, sever the intricate pattern. The thread zigzags as it courses onward, from patterns of homelands, ships and seas, through spirals of tears, strange lands and war. The yarn picks up course and labors through to pictures of deceptively unbound limbs and hopeful faces, back to dark entrenched rootlets and bursting seams. The fibrous cord winds tentatively forward through scenes of achievements, progress, and pride, back to unanchored sutures, hiding wounds and disease. Let's lay the tapestry aside for conversation and reflection. What will our next step depict as we fashion humanity? An answer is demanded from all who sits at the loom. Are we willing to produce a cohesive masterpiece or continue the twisted yarn of disengagement and discordance? You are the spine that the weaver controls. As you thread the needle, which net will you twirl? Is it one woven with old fiber and narrow, short strokes? Or will you abandon the web that has entangled your spirit and boldly advance the story with enlightened wide berth? As you pass the tapestry to the eminent designers, will you be proud of the legacy presented? Will the receivers find value in the carefully fashioned gift? Will they thank the benefactor and herald their admiration of weavers wielding backbones of truth and courage? Or will they hide the seams in a dark, forgotten space, ashamed and saddened by the images revealed of broken and spineless instruments of ignorance and spite? So from this moment to eternity, be vigilant as we thread the needle. A warning from the master craftsman. Yeah. And here's another one that I wrote. It's shorter. It's called What You Say Is What You Do. Let's secure the existence of our people and a future for ours only. Look not every man on his own things, but every man on the things of others. Blood and honor is our motto. We will live and die by it. Let us join our hands that the world will know we are one in the bond of love. Divide and conquer is the only way to maintain control. Love conquers fear. When we are walking side by side, we will stand. I have nothing to say. It's not my fight. My silence means consent. I'm as guilty as the perpetrator. We will reclaim the world and lift our banners high, even if it plunges the earth into darkness. May we be a shining light to the nations, a word of light to the peoples of the earth. I don't care about their problems. It's up to them to change their conditions. We are here to help each other walk the mile and bear the load. This country is only for those who look and think like me. We will walk hand in hand, and together we'll spread the news that God is in our land. What you say is what you do. What are you saying?
I'm like, what are you saying? What are you saying? What are you saying? I am feeling that. I am feeling that. And I hope everyone else did. Very nice, Doris. Thank you for sharing. And I was really moved that you shared the words of your friend.
Yes.
You know, because sometimes we think of the famous folks, but I think that was a beautiful way to honor her during this month. So, you know, thank you very much for that.
Thank you all for listening.
And thank you for joining us. All right, up next, we have NakitaJayPoet, my other good friend from North Carolina, from my Cabo adventure. in February. Let me share a little bit about her. She was born in Kinterbish, Alabama, and relocated to Eastern North Carolina at the age of 6. NakitaJayPoet began writing poetry around the age of 9, which is about the time I started writing a little bit. World in Tune was her first poem written in grade school. Boy, I get to remember that. Whoa. And she won first place in a contest. From this experience, her love of the arts was born. For many years, she's written about all subjects. After obtaining a bachelor's and master's degree in business administration, she had the opportunity to discover her talents even more. In 2010, she became the co-organizer of the Mahogany Experience Writing Group, formed by Kimberly Albritton. A group collection was written entitled The Mahogany Experience, Soulful Expressions. From this experience, many connections were made, and Nakita J started to focus more on cultivating her craft. Fast forward to 2018, Nakita J has been in several local poetry showcases in North Carolina, in the Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina area, 2 plays produced by Black Poetry Theater, and has traveled to several states performing in poetry showcases. Recent projects include a book of quotes entitled Life and I Quote, co-authored with Church the Poet, and the launch of the Poetic Divas, LLC, I love that name, a poetry collaborative effort with Miss Dahlia 22 that features a podcast streamed live on Facebook and YouTube. As Poetic Divas, Nakita J works to encourage the use of poetry and creativity as a form of healing, growth, and expression. She is the founder of Got You in the Scope Photography, specializing in headshots, boudoir, shoots, and other photography needs. To add to the list, Nakita J is a Bedroom Candy independent consultant, the company founded by Candy Burras, that specializes in adult intimate items, bath and body, and makeup. Nakita J has completed training at North Carolina State University as a life coach and is currently accepting clients. Without further ado, I present to you NakitaJayPoet.
Thank you, Sharon, for the warm introduction. Thank you for having me, first of all. When we met, it was instant energy. I was like, this is a person that I want to connect with. So it's a blessing to be here today. I do have 3 poems to share with you all. One of my favorite poets is also Maya Angelou. And the one that I'm going to share with you all today is called Woman Work. I've got the children to tend, the clothes to mend, the floor to mop, the food to shop, then the chicken to fry, the baby to dry. I got company to feed, the garden to weed. I've got shirts to press, the tops to dress, the cane to be cut. I got to clean up this hut, then see about the sick and the cotton to pick. Shine on me, sunshine, rain on me, rain. Fall softly, dewdrops, and cool my brow again. Storm, blow me from here with your fiercest wind. Let me float across the sky till I can rest again. Fall gently, snowflakes. Cover me with white, cold, icy kisses, and let me rest tonight. Sun, rain, curving sky, mountain, oceans, leaf, and stone. Starshine, moon glow, you're all that I can call my own. In peace. This really resonates with me because I, myself and many other women, we have so many hats, so many roles to play. So that really resonates with me, and I just had to share with you all today. So the next one I want to share is entitled Tales of the Critic. And this will be a poem that I wrote myself. The other day I saw a double rainbow, and I remembered the blessing that came from me being double-crossed, causing me to take my time and be more careful. In life, our choices often get us caught up like double dutch. Haven't we been tied up enough? Rope burns causing infliction, doubling as an addiction. This pain feels so good, like home, leaving you to wonder, when will you be able to go home? Or will we forever be tied to these results? Understand that just because you enjoy the rainbows doesn't mean you accept the rain. It doesn't mean that you will understand the pain. The ignorant will insist on blaming everyone but themselves, never taking responsibility for the flame they left burning beside firecrackers that often resembled hopes and dreams deferred. I've seen many things, but nothing as bright as the promise of a new beginning. Beginnings start without warning, and I have to keep asking myself questions. I have to keep digging 6 feet deep, searching for the truth, hoping to not become buried by the debris, reminding myself that freedom comes at a cost. I'm addicted to second-guessing, overthinking insignificant details, so I beg myself for freedom. The freedom to trust my instincts, to go boldly into the day and night without speculation, to inhale with no guarantee of exhaling, knowing that my hands are strong enough to carry the weight, understanding that reality won't wait as I struggle to retire the title of being my own worst critic. Thank you. And I have one last piece. This one is entitled Kiss Me. Kiss me. If you missed the chance, write me a eulogy. Don't come to my funeral empty-handed, write me a poem, a haiku. Whatever literary form it takes to make my spirit understand why my apology was not good enough. I couldn't get it through to you that I carry you in my spirit. I considered your survival as part of my arrival. I considered you. Made a plate at the table for you, even though I didn't know if you would make it home. I wasted time for you. Gambled with non-renewable resources just to have a chance to please you. I only wanted to be. So I'm going to try and send this apology to you again via my spirit. Maybe the reality of my finality will somehow provide me divinity. Pardon me. While I whisper to an eagle flying by, I pray that he serves as my carrier pigeon, allowing you to get this message. I'm hoping that since you no longer speak to mortals, that you will at least make peace with the universe. Maybe one day you will see, while visiting the sea, that I was not lying, just roaring against these ocean waves, breaking against the hardness of my life. I only wanted to use what was left of me to season you. And maybe that was the problem. Maybe you only wanted me to be a garnish, not providing flavor, just laying on the edges of what was considered the main course. You saw me as green, curvy, not realizing my flavor was dominating until you accidentally mixed me into your portions. After that, you blame me for having a flavor that I've always had. Sorry again, I thought you knew me. Well, the new me will only whisper to you in passing like songbird. Say hello and I care through silent falling stars. Maybe one day you will speak to me again in your soliloquy. Thank you.
Girl, you outdid yourself with that one. That last one. Oh, God.
Thank you.
All of us going like, yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I really do appreciate that. All right. Woo. I'm getting a whole lot out of this. And I haven't even heard from everybody yet. But anyway, this has been a good mix of people. Next up is a very special person who, this is her first poetry debut. And we're very happy to have her today, aren't we, Cousin Sandra? We're happy to have her doing this thing with us today. Yes. It is my twin sister, Sherry Burton Steine. And she is a mixed media, one-of-a-kind art doll and abstract watercolor artist based in Maryland. Sherry has studied with noted national, local doll artists, including Erica Cleve, Stacy Vajeta. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the name. So, and Melissa Aichi. Anyway, I'm sorry if I'm butchering the names, Sherry. Her watercolor artwork has been inspired by national lifestyle expert and artist Elena Brower. Her work has been published in several art doll collector books, Black Dolls, A Comprehensive Guide to Celebrating and Experiencing the Passion by Debbie Behan Garrett, and Hot Flash, A Celebration by noted doll artist Pamela Hastings. She has exhibited her work across the country, including Hawaii, which I didn't know until I saw that, Philadelphia, and Charleston, South Carolina. This is her first poetry event, and Sherry's debuting her first reading as a poet, reading work by those that she is inspired by. So welcome, Miss Sherry Burton Steine.
Thank you so much, Sharon. And I am so inspired and encouraged to be with this group today. And Sharon and my cousin Sandra are just beautiful people, and they just are wonderful. So I'm a little nervous, but we're gonna do this. So I am going to read from one of my favorite authors, and her name is Zenju Erflin Manuel. And this book is called The Deepest Peace, Contemplations from a Season of Stillness, which came out a couple of years ago. So I'm going to read two of her poems, and I will read one of my own. So this first one is called Neighbors. So it's a very short piece. The laughter of neighbors after sunset opens the room. The smell of orange blossoms cultivated 80 years ago. It's just something about that. I just love that. Here's a second one. And this one is called Into the Dark. Silence leads to the interior where moss grows in layers. Bamboo sinks itself into you. In your innermost earth, the deep speaks. It does not think, it calls. Go unafraid into the dark, into life without doubt that the heart is open. Well, I'm just like, well, okay. And last but not least is my poem. And this one is called My Rituals. Awakening acceptance, embracing true nature, perfect knowing. Oh, how I breathe in each breath, which takes me to the wounds of my soul, integrating mind, body, and the senses, balancing my own being in non-judgment, in rituals beyond comprehension. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Very nice, very nice. I am just really honored and thrilled to have you as a part of this year. And so hopefully that will continue. So, okay, now it's me. And I guess I will read my own bio. I was like, oh, should I have somebody read that? But I said, I'll read my own. I'll read my own. For those of you who don't know me, I am Sharon Burton, SJB Creates, which is my brand for my artistic kinds of activities, which includes poetry and visual art. I am a visual artist, a poet, and a creativity coach based in the Washington, D.C. area. As a visual artist, my preferred medium is collage and mixed media, and I've exhibited in art galleries, art venues, and other settings across the country since 2007. I also served as an art curator and an art advisor throughout the last 10, 15 years. My work can be found in private collections in Atlanta, Washington, D.C., and other places across the country. In 2018, I started writing poetry more seriously. I did start as about the same age as Nakita, and I actually wrote song lyrics. I would hear the music in my head and actually write the lyrics. And I don't know why I didn't go into the music business. I should have, but I didn't. I started writing more seriously as a poet in 2018 after dealing with a major life lesson. In 2019, I compiled a chapbook of 35 plus poems from that whole year. I self-published it for my friends and family, entitled Moon Rising in Capricorn. With feedback from those who read the poems in this collection, I was encouraged to write more poems. 4 of my poems have recently been published in the anthology entitled Kaleidoscope, Women of Color Reflecting on Life, which features poetry from women in a writing circle of the same name, facilitated by Esther Productions, Jonetta Rose Barras, and Kami, who spoke earlier or shared earlier, is also in that group. And it was published by Esther Books in late 2022. I'm currently writing a book of inspirational affirmations for creatives and artists at midlife, because we need love and encouragement, especially if we're coming back to our creative life. And I plan to officially publish my own poetry book somewhere along the way here after I get the other project done. So anyway, I am going to read the poet that I selected. Is actually a contemporary poet that received a lot of critical accolades. She's kind of what they call a social media poet, so to speak, but she actually wrote a book called Salt. Her name is Naraya Wahid. Some of you may be familiar with her. She wrote this poetry book called Salt that was just a phenomenal success a couple years ago. And she's actually one of the poets that really inspired my writing. And I'm going to read this poem. It's called Therapy. The hard season will split you through. Do not worry. You will bleed water. Do not worry. This is grief. Your face will fall out and down your skin, and there will be scorching. But do not worry. Keep speaking the years from their hiding places. Keep coughing up smoke from all of the deaths you have died. Keep the rage tender, because the soft season will come. It will come. Loud, ready, gulping, both hands in your chest. Up all night, up all of the nights, to drink all damage into love. Her stuff is deep, y'all. I love her. She's one of my favorites, All right, the next one I am going to read is from the Moon Rising in Capricorn, the little book I did a few years ago just as a tryout on the whole poetry thing. And make sure that the last person got in okay. It's called Tree Huggers. And actually, for my North Carolina folks, it was inspired by my time, going down to North Carolina. The trees create a living canopy, engulfing us into another world. As we stop among the leaves, connecting beneath our feet, sounds of the Eno rushing against rocks, calling our names. As the sun peeks among the leaves, wind whispers its delight. As we examine the bark of a tree, mushrooms rise and salute us like royalty, and we talk fervently, celebrating the good earth and love without making a sound. So that was Tree Huggers by yours truly. And the last one I am going to read is from the Kaleidoscope book, right here. And I thought I would read this one since it seemed like it made sense, because we are talking about poetry, and it's called A Poem. My life is an endless poem with no rhymes and no set rules, telling a story as I move through dark caverns interspersed with bright light, a destiny and magical journey, fulfilling a purpose, programmed in my DNA. Within a divine mission, I flow. So that was another original work by yours truly. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Oh, thank you for the love, y'all. Thank you for the love. All right, last but certainly not least, talking about DNA, this woman is a part of my sister and I's DNA, Dr. Sandra Wilson, who we, one thing about this whole COVID thing, we had a chance to really connect with people that we wouldn't normally connect with. And through this time, we found out about this lady just by accident through a Zoom call. My sister was and her are part of an organization together, and she had an eagle eye, picked up on Sherry's last name, and had to contact her. Come to find out, she is a cousin that is the daughter of my father's favorite cousin. So, this whole Philadelphia thing starts coming out. And then we find out that she is just like a third twin or a triplet to us, because she likes art and poetry and all that kind of stuff. So we've been rocking it. We've been really rocking it for the last couple of years, and so happy to have met her and to have connected with her, because that doesn't normally happen. But I really do believe that if it wasn't for COVID, that may not have happened. Anyway, let me introduce her. Dr. Sandra Wilson. She is a retired elementary school teacher, teacher supervisor, and college professor. She's had the joy of teaching at all stages of her life. She was also a teacher editor for Silver Burdett's Ginn Science Program. Being in retirement has given her time to paint and write. And she says that her writing and painting has taken a life of their own. She had a play, We Are, was published by the International Journal of Black Drama at Temple University while she was working on her PhD. She's presently completing a book. You see the theme books. And ready to take the step to finding a publisher. Some of her stories have been published in anthologies and journals. She says of her writing poetry just seems to happen on its own. It's enjoyable to create with words, and it is a respite from the technical writing I had to do in academia. I hope others enjoy my work as much as I do creating. I present to you my cousin, Dr. Sandra Wilson.
Well, hello, everybody. So glad you stayed to the end. I wondered about this poetry thing. And, when I found out the other day, I was thinking that why is it that suddenly I can remember poems that from childhood? And I think it was because my mother used to recite poetry to me. And I know when Jonetta said about Paul Laurence Dunbar, one of the poems that I had selected was In the Morning by Paul Laurence Dunbar, which my mother, she must have said it to me so many times I remember the words to that. And to Robert Louis Stevenson's poetry, A Child's Garden of Verses, she loved the shadow and the swing. And I used to think, why do I know these words? Well, my mother was evidently she was actually reciting these things to me. It's interesting how I think that came to be, because my mother was the first Black child in a school when they moved, and because they wouldn't let her go out for recess because they thought that she would be accosted by the children. So she would go to the library. They'd send her to the library to work with the librarian there. And so later on in her lifetime, she became a beautician, had her own beauty culture, a beauty salon. And then when she was 50, she went back to school and became a librarian. So that's why I think she was filled with all this literature, you know. So I had some really serious things to do, but sometimes I just like to be silly. So the first poem I'm going to read to you is called Sick, and it's by Shel Silverstein, who wrote children's poetry, and it's Where the Sidewalk Ends. I cannot go to school today, said little Peggy Ann McKay. I have the measles and the mumps, a gash and rash and purple bumps, and my mouth is wet and my throat is dry, and I'm going blind in my right eye, and my tonsils are big as rocks. And I counted 16 chicken pox, and there's one more, and that's 17. And don't you think that my face looks green? My leg is cut, my eyes, they're blue. It might be asthmatic flu. I cough and sneeze and gasp and choke, and I'm sure that my left leg is broke. My hip hurts when I move my chin. My belly button's caving in. My back is wrenched, my ankle sprained, my appendix pains each time it rains, and my nose is cold and my toes are numb. I have a sliver in my thumb. My neck, it is stiff. My spine is weak. I hardly whisper when I speak. My tongue is filling up my mouth, and I think my hair is falling out. My elbows bent. My spine is straight. My temperature, it's 108. My brain is shrunk, and I cannot hear. There's a hole inside my ear. I have a hangnail, and my heart is, what? What's that? What's that you say? You say today is Saturday? Goodbye, I'm going out to play. The next two poems I'm going to read are included in my book. I was going to do ones that rhyme since I had read this one, but I decided to do one that had affected me because of my interaction with my children. And the other one is a very serious one. So here goes. It's called The Running Man. I take pride in my dancing ability. Most times I can learn steps right away. I line dance, I do Zumba, even in my old age. But I'm ashamed to say this. I cannot do the running man, and it bothers me. I've tried for years to do that dance, but my feet are not fast enough or something. I can flop, twist, hitchhike, stroll, and do the monkey. I learned to Philly bop, slow drag, Chicago step, and even sneak in a grind, but only with my husband, of course. I even have lessons as a child in tap dancing and ballet. And like many little girls, my ballet days lasted just a moment. And when I was excited about getting my toe shoes, my mother bought a piano and lessons began. I mourned those toe shoes. They were never to be. I would outgrow them anyway, like I did my tap shoes. Years later, when I felt the iron toe in the toe shoes, I must admit I was relieved for the piano lessons. Mom taught me to truck, Charleston, Lindy Hop, and Jitterbug. I taught myself to stroll, hitchhike, and even robot. I can slow drag, strand with finesse, but I cannot do it. Nope, I can't do it. I can't do the running man. It has bothered me for years, but I keep trying in private. I love breakdancing, to watch, not to do. I'm too old to even try to get down on the floor, much less get up. What would I look like twirling on my head with hands swinging clockwise. But I can twerk. Well, it's not a good look, but I can do it. I can do the Dougie and the floss, but I just can't do that Running Man. The Humpty Hump has a nice beat, but it's not for me. I can two-step with the best of them. I glide smoothly in the waltz and step lively in the tango. My children laugh themselves to tears when I even try the Running Man. It is so bad that I have to giggle myself. Onlookers smile with criticism, and I'm happy for their silence. I could jump with crisscross from back in the day. You remember they were the elementary school children who wore their clothes backwards, and I bet the boys that copied them had a time trying to go to the bathroom. The moonwalk was a challenge at first, but I can do it. I even watched the Running Man movie. Surprisingly, no one did the dance. Whenever I tried something, my mother would say, "You can do it." And usually that worked. So I keep trying, and one day, I will surprise the people who laughed at me. They will see that this old girl has it going on, and I'm determined to do that Running Man. People will be shocked. Well, even I will be surprised. But at the rate I'm going, it will probably be in my next lifetime. Okay, the last one is in the book. It's about a woman who lives in Kansas after the Civil War, who was raised there. There was a man named Pat Singleton who bought land for Black people who were slaves that were going out west. And so I put this poem into that section. I did this presentation because I did not want to write an audition. I was taking a class and in directing in theater, and the assignment was to go to the audition for the play that the college was having and write it up or audition. I said, "Oh, I'll audition. I'm not writing anything else. I'm tired of writing, so I'd rather audition." So when I got there, the audition was really just to read the parts of the play. So crazy person that I am, I said, "But I had prepared an audition." And they said, "Okay, let me see it." Okay, so this is what I did. And unfortunately for me, it worked, but I didn't want the part. It's called "I Can't Smell No Flowers When I'm Gone." Grandma's hands used to hand me a piece of candy. Grandma's hands picked me up each time I fell. Grandma's hands, boy, they really came in handy. She said, "Maddie, don't you whip that boy. What you want to spank him for? He ain't dropped no apple core, but I don't have grandma anymore. If I get to heaven, I'll look for grandma's hands." Mm-hmm. I can't smell no flowers when I'm gone. So if you want me to have some, I'll just take them right now. Sure will. After I pass this here life, I won't be able to enjoy no company. Oh, don't feel bad later. Just come on over now and let's sit and talk a spell. Pass me that ivory pipe, the one I love, not the corncob one, and let me rock on the porch in my chair and sing my favorite old hymns. Ask me about the days when I could kick up my heels. You won't be able to hear my good old story soon. I'm taking them all with me when I go. Had me a good old life I had. Wants me a big old funeral. That's what I want. To celebrate my dying, because Lord knows I celebrate my living. Put on my best nightie and slippers and comb my hair real pretty like, and then lay me out on a nice soft pad with a fancy pillow. I'll be ready for the glory land. So come on over to see me now. And remember, I can't smell no flowers when I'm gone, but I likes to smell them right now. I sure does. And when you get to heaven, you'll look for Grandma's hands. Mhm. Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. As usual, as usual. Let's give all of our poets just some love in the chat, a clap, an emoji. This has been, the best one yet, the best one yet. And I just want to say how much I've really enjoyed this showcase. I hope that all of the poets enjoyed themselves. They had a chance to kind of get to know each other a little bit. And before, I just want to say thank you for all of you that have joined us, whether by phone or by Zoom, and just listened and took in. We really do appreciate that. And again, I do this every year. So I'm looking forward to doing it again next April. And I keep saying I'm going to do something during the holidays, but I get caught up and I don't get a chance to do it. But we might do that, or maybe during February or Women's History Month or something. I got to figure it out because, my life gets crazy. But I just want to thank all of you. This has been videotaped, so we're going to have it available in the next day or so. So if you know some of the poets here, and I may try to send it to you all if you're interested in that, but it will live on my SJB Creates YouTube page. But I just want to say how much, I just want to thank all the poets for agreeing to do this. Some folks, they didn't know me, but they took the chance and did this. And I appreciate that, for sharing your words and all of that wonderful stuff. I am going to now stop the recording.
Thank you so much for this.
Oh, no